Hey everyone, this is my collection of magics and pucks and spherical puzzles that don't really fit any other kind of category. First there's these magics over here. They come in different sizes. I was surprised when I first got this one. At first I didn't know that it was going to be mini like this. But, you know, there's also the more regular sizes. This is a Simpsons one. There's some pucks over here. Pucks are just puzzles where you can flip them and then turn the middle and then, you know, flip them again. And then spherical puzzles that don't really fit any other kind of category in my puzzle collection. Here's a puzzle called Brain Ball, where you can turn both of these sides and then move these circles around as well. And it's a Kale Labyrinth. You get a ball through the maze, which also turns like a 3x3. There's a lot of stuff in here that you can't see, especially with the magics. And so let's spread it out and see what's inside. I'm going to show this bucket, the insides, in two different pictures because the other section is magics, and when they spread out, they take up quite a bit of space. So these are the spherical puzzles that don't fit any other category, and the pucks. I'm going to remount the camera and then show some of these in detail. Okay, here's a slightly closer look. A lot of these are just sticker variations or color variations. For example, this is the puck puzzle, the I Love You puck puzzle. A nice puzzle. All you do is you flip it around, and then you can hold the middle and rotate it around, and use that to move different pieces around the puzzle. Got stuck a little bit there. Oh, there you go. Back to normal. Lots of different color variations on this. This is an IQ puzzle, IQ 139, where you can have the numbers around. The more stuff that's around the sides, the more difficult that it is to put together. This one has a number on every single section, so it's a little bit difficult in order to get this back into a regular solved position. And here's a little more fancy version of that same IQ 139 puzzle. This one's from puckpuzzles.com, where you have different colors, and this was a pretty nice looking puzzle. Now some of these spherical puzzles kind of unusual. This one you can turn the actual faces and move some of these tiles around. So it can be a little bit stiff until you work it in. Here it is. I think I didn't have something aligned there. But see, you can move these lines around these sides as well as turn the faces. This is something Cabalabda ball, where you're just moving these things around and you're trying to get rid of all these dots that are inside. Here's a gravity-based puzzle where you're supposed to move these pieces around based off of gravity. This is a very neat puzzle. Very original. These are the Bolaris Bolaris sphere. It's supposed to be a satellite picture of the world. Bit difficult to figure out which piece goes where, because there's a lot of clouds that are in the way of things. Here's a master ball, where you can split it like that and then start rotating pieces. These have a problem sometimes. When they work, but when they don't, they're very difficult to get working again. It's difficult to get these apart and then clean the insides or do whatever you need to do, any kind of repairs, and then put them back together again and get them working again. Some of these are like this, the Saturn puzzle or the Brain Ball puzzle, where it looks a bit like the planet Saturn, Where you can move these pieces around. Kind of interesting. This is a brain ball that's in the shape of a soccer ball. A little fun color variation to that. There's a lot. I have a lot of spheres that have to do with the globe, though. This is an interesting one. This is a metal puzzle where you can slide pieces around the equator. And you try and match things up. This is the orbit. This is probably what people think of when they think of a Rubik's Cube style spherical puzzle. This is probably the most popular one, where you can rotate things around, and then when you move it, you can, move the beads around a little bit. Kind of interesting. What else? Oh yeah, the KO Labyrinth. I always love to bring this one up because this is pretty close to the biggest puzzle that's in this spherical section, and one of the biggest puzzles I have, period. This puzzle is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. You can see the KO balls in there for the KO Labyrinth name. And the Rubik's 360, which is the latest puzzle from Rubik's. What else? Oh, this is an interesting color variation of a Master Ball. This is a tennis Master Ball. This puzzle is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a missing hole puzzle, where you're supposed to match all these dots around with their color around the side, but you move it by pushing this in and then moving it around to a different location. It feels really satisfying, and it sounds interesting. It's loud, but it sounds interesting. It's a lot of fun to play around with. Even if you're not matching up the colors the way that they're supposed to, it can be something like a squeeze cushion, things like that. It just feels really nice. And this is a piece that belongs to the Wisdom Ball, and the Wisdom Ball is, I think it's this one, the Wisdom Ball. Oh yeah, what else? There was one. Oh, there's the Sphere XYZ puzzle, which has a dot in the center, and there's also an anomaly, Sphere XYZ anomaly puzzle, where they decided to add an extra couple of white squares because that makes it a little bit more difficult to get things around. You can see the Sphere XYZ puzzle all over the place, but the Sphere XYZ anomaly, that one seems to be a lot more difficult to find. I'm not sure why that ended up happening, but it did. I'm going to switch over to the other part of this, the magics at this time. Here's a shot of all the different magics together on the table. You can see a lot of them are ring versions, and there's a couple of them that have different movies on them and things like that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer and show what they look like. Okay, we're zoomed in a bit. I'll show this one, a Harry Potter one. This is the normal size for Rubik's Magic Puzzle, or a magic puzzle. 8 tiles. This is the normal size of it. Sometimes you have people just put pictures inside, like of Harry Potter and the Power Rangers, different things like that. But the most popular pattern is this ring pattern. This is the look of a standard magic puzzle. And I have that size in 8 and also in larger as well. Here's 12 panel one. I have a couple different 12 panel ones, but they're all basically the variations on the same theme. Just unlock the rings by changing the pieces around so that it shows on the opposite side the rings, but they're not attached anymore. That's the typical solution for Rubik's Magic. And just so you can see it a little bit closer, this is another variation on that same thing. These rings are linked. On the other side, if you put it together, the rings will basically not be linked in the same way anymore. Sometimes to get strange variations on this. This is from the Beijing Olympics that time, where one side, there's really almost nothing to mix up. They're all just separate pictures. Usually you have a picture that links up all these different pieces to make it difficult, and this one really doesn't have anything to match it. But on the other side, there are things that you can do to make it a little bit more interesting. This one, however, really doesn't make any sense. It just looks cool. There's a bunch of different faces, none of them of which are connected on this side, and on this side there's a bunch of dragons, and there's really nothing to mix up. That they're not connected to each other in any way. I think whoever put the pictures in here missed the point. Someone who didn't miss the point over here is one that's over here, where you can make a cube basically out of this magic puzzle. Kind of an interesting variation. These ones in the center, these are all mini puzzles, mini magics. At first, when I saw these on sale, I didn't realize that they were actually mini puzzles. These are really tiny, especially if you compare it to one of these. Basically, it's less than the size of 2 of these panels, as well as a slightly larger one that has hearts on it. And then there's the massive ones over to the right. This one, Lord of the Rings, an epic movie, getting an epic size on here. 16 panel one. And there's a map on the other side. This one is really impressive. If you're into these Lord of the Rings movies and you like any of these magic puzzles at all, this is a really interesting puzzle to get. Another strange 16... let me take this one because this one looks a little bit better. 16 piece one, there's a chess pieces on this side, and then you can move it into a chess pattern of an actual game on the other side. Kind of interesting. And then this is a mid-sized one, a Simpsons one in the back over here. And then this is my biggest one. This is a 20 panel one. And it's just really more of the same, just linking the same thing, except there's more panels for you to go through before you unlink the rings on the other side. In general, if I was to pick a favorite one, it would probably be this Lord of the Rings one, because it's just so impressive. The movie itself is impressive, I thought, and the picture that they have on here is good, and the map is interesting on the back as well. It's a lot more interesting than just unlocking rings. You can talk about the one true ring that's going to rule them all. Anyway, this is my collection of magics, and before this, spherical puzzles and pucks.